What's up, guys? It's Ty here, and in this video I'm going to be giving you guys my 2019-2020 NBA Western Conference season predictions. So at the time of this recording, I'm sure you guys have already seen the Eastern Conference predictions, or if you haven't, make sure you guys go check it out. It's like it'll be the video before this on my channel. But yeah, we predicted where we think everyone's going to finish in the Eastern Conference, and I'll be doing the same for the Western Conference. So the Western Conference is a lot more difficult, and it's a lot more competitive than the Eastern Conference, in my opinion, especially with some of the acquisitions made in this year's free agent class. But, you know, without further ado, let's just hop into it. Finishing at the bottom of the Western Conference, I have the Memphis Grizzlies. Obviously, we know what happened. They lost Marc Gasol last season, and then they lost Mike Conley, their star point guard, but they got the second overall pick in this year's draft, and they drafted Ja Morant. Don't get me wrong, this core, Ja Morant, Josh Jackson, who was a 4th overall selection 2 years ago, Jared Jackson Jr., who was a 3rd overall selection last year, Giannis Valanciunas is a solid player. They have Iguodala, they have Tyus Jones, Jay Crowder. Don't get me wrong, this team is going to be good, right? This team is going to be very, very solid in the future. But, you know, right now, I mean, there's a lot of newness here. I don't think they're going to piece it all together this year. And Ja Morant, he's only 18 years old. And, you know, he's just really young. Jared Jackson Jr., they're going to be a force to reckon with in the future. But for this season, man, with this Western Conference, I think they're going to finish last. But give them some time, they're going to be even better. Finishing just ahead of the Memphis Grizzlies in the Eastern Conference are the Phoenix Suns. I have them finishing 14th. Last year, they finished dead last in the West, and I have them moving up one spot. I mean, on paper, this team is nice. I mean, they add Ricky Rubio, who's a solid playmaker who can, like, you know, pass the ball very, very well. Devin Booker is the main man. He is a phenomenal player, don't get me wrong, but it seems like he just can't, you know, lead his teams to, you know, any success. I mean, 26.6 points per game, 6.8 assists, 4.1 rebounds, shot 30, didn't even shoot 33% from the three-point line. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a very, very good player, but he just really hasn't led the team to anything as of yet, and people are starting to think he's only 22 years old as well, so he still has plenty of time to grow. But he just really hasn't led this Suns team to anything thus far, and it's become kind of alarming a little bit to Suns fan. But they are still very young. I wouldn't worry too much. I mean, DeAndre Ayton was last year's first overall selection. I believe he had. We were taking a video the other day. He had 16 points, 10 rebounds. So he's going to obviously get better this year. Mikal Bridges starting at power forward. I think they'll start Dario Saric as instead of Bridges, but Bridges is a solid defender. They drafted Cam Johnson out of North Carolina with the 11th overall pick this year, which came with a lot of scrutiny. I mean, he's a very solid player, but they could have gotten him later in the draft, in my opinion. They have Tyler Johnson off the bench, and they drafted Ty Jerome. I think the Phoenix Sun team will finish 14th in the West. Finishing 13th in the Western Conference, I have the Minnesota Timberwolves, and this team, honestly, should be better than that. They got Jeff Teague, Andrew Wiggins, Karl-Anthony Towns, Josh Okogie, and Robert Covington are also solid players. But this team should just be better. Like, it's just kind of sad how, you know, Andrew Wiggins really hasn't produced as well as he should. I mean, I think he still drops like 20 points per game. I mean, 18.1. I mean, that's not bad. We all get on Andrew Wiggins like, oh, he's a terrible player. Like, he's not terrible. Don't get me wrong. Any team would probably like to have him. But it's just, as a first overall pick in 2014, I mean, he is only 24. He's still very young. But it's just like you would want him to have a little bit more production here. You want him to be, honestly, 25 points per game is what Andrew Wiggins should be scoring, in my opinion. But he is not currently. It's just, I mean, he's just not. He can't shoot a free throw very well. I mean, he shoots an okay 3-ball. I don't know. He's just not producing the way he should. Karl-Anthony Towns is also, he's playing really well, but it's just not, it's not resulting in the wins. And then with this Western Conference getting even tougher, they're the team that really falls. If Jared Culver, they drafted at 6 overall, he'll be solid. He might end up finding his way into the starting lineup by the end of the year. They also got Jordan Bell from the Golden State Warriors, and I think that was a nice signing. I think Jordan Bell is a solid player. I think the Timberwolves will finish 13th. Hey, look who it is. It's the Oklahoma City Thunder. I have them finishing 12th in the Western Conference. They take a mighty fall from 6th to 12th. Obviously, they lost Russell Westbrook and Paul George in the season. They got Chris Paul, but that's kind of it. I mean, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with time, I mean, he's going to be a pretty solid player in my opinion. They got Dennis Schroeder off the bench as well, but Chris Paul is getting up there in age, and he just can't do it like he used to, in my opinion. They don't have a small forward, Terrence Ferguson. I mean, Really athletic freak, but that's about it. Same with Darius Bazley. There was their 23rd overall selection this year, I believe. Danilo Gallinari they got in the Paul George trade. Obviously, solid point guard. He had 20 points per game last season. But, I mean, on this team, he might do the same. I don't know. I don't think he's a good player, but I don't think he's going to lead this team to the playoffs or anything like that. And Steven Adams and Nerlens Noel. I mean, I think Nerlens Noel is better. You know, just the people that think Steven Adams is terrible. I mean, I'm going to say Nerlens Noel is a little better then, you know, to appease those fans. But I think they're both kind of, you know, in the same boat there. They're both just average players, in my opinion. But, yeah, I mean, this Thunder team really takes a big hit, and I think they're going to finish 12th. Finishing 11th place in the Western Conference next season will be the Sacramento Kings. So, De'Aaron Fox, Buddy Hield, Harrison Barnes, Marvin Bagley, and then I guess Dwayne Dedmon. They need a center, really. They honestly need a center. They should have Harry Giles figure it out, get bigger. But no, I'm just kidding. De'Aaron Fox last season had himself a far better season than his rookie season. He had 17.3 points per game, 7.3 assists, and in 31 minutes, shot 37% from three-point line, had himself 1.6 steals per game as well. And he is only 21 years old, so he will continue to grow. Buddy Hield and Harrison Barnes and Marvin Bagley was the second overall selection 2 years ago. Or no, it was last year. I'm stupid. Last year. And, you know, he will continue to develop. And this team, I mean, in a couple of years is going to be a very nice team. Honestly, in my opinion, going to be a playoff team. But at this moment in time, they will not. Also, I just wanted to let you guys know, disclaimer, these are my opinions, these predictions. I don't think, like, these are going to happen in stone, but, like, they're just my opinions. You guys are entitled to yours, but I just wanted to throw a little disclaimer out there before we move on. But, yeah, we're going to move on to the 10th team. And that 10th team is probably one of the most interesting, if not the most interesting team coming into the NBA next season, and that is the New Orleans Pelicans. As we know, the narrative goes, they lucked into the number 1 pick to get Zion Williamson, obviously the most hyped rookie since LeBron James. And then they traded Anthony Davis for Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart, Brandon Ingram, and 3 future first-round picks. They had the 8th overall pick as well, where they signed they got Jackson Hayes. And Nickeil Alexander-Walker is even a solid player. They have Jahlil Okafor was a 3rd overall pick in 2015, and is kind of trying to rekindle his career with New Orleans. And yeah, this team, they also signed JJ Redick. They got Derek Favors, and Drew Holiday is still here. So this team is solid. Like, this team will be solid. In a couple of years, this team is going to be a very, very good team. But right now, they're quite young. They all just got there. You know, it's kind of like everyone's just new. They picked everyone off the streets here. Give them time to gel. And once they do, this team will be quite scary. Give Zion a couple of years. I mean, Drew Holiday will be getting up there in age, but that's when Lonzo will take over, in my opinion. And yeah, I mean, I can see Josh Hart maybe even getting into that shooting guard role instead of JJ Redick, since he's getting up there in age. But JJ Redick is too valuable of a shooter, in my opinion. But yeah, this team is solid. They could somehow make the playoffs, but I don't think it's going to happen this year. So I have them finishing 10th in the Western Conference. Probably my biggest surprise pick in the Western Conference last. In the Eastern Conference, it was the Atlanta Hawks. Western Conference, it's the Dallas Mavericks. I have the Dallas Mavericks just missing out on the playoffs. I know that sounds crazy, but last year, Luka Doncic, the reigning Rookie of the Year, Kristaps Porzingis is now back healthy, so Kristaps and Luka are going to be a phenomenal duo that, you know, wills this team to try to make a playoff run, but on it, like, misses out in the end. They got Dwight Powell, they got Tim Hardaway Jr., who they're grossly overpaying. DeLon Wright, they signed and traded from Memphis. Jalen Brunson off the bench. They still got J.J. Barea. Seth Curry was a very good signing, in my opinion. Quite cheap deal. Justin Jackson, Dorian Finney-Smith. Dorian Finney-Smith could find his way playing the small forward role if Tim Hardaway does not play well. But yeah, I think this team, again, solid. A lot of depth. They have, 17 rostered? That's crazy. Isaiah Roby was their draft pick as well out of Nebraska. But again, I think this team is going to be better than what most people think. So I have the Mavericks finishing 9th. Finishing 8th in the Western Conference and making the playoffs will be the San Antonio Spurs. Obviously, coached under Mr. Greg Popovich, the San Antonio Spurs team will not miss the playoffs. It just won't happen. I mean, this team is solid, too. I mean, they have, on paper, DeMar DeRozan, Rudy Gay, LaMarcus Aldridge, Derek White, who had himself a nice season last year, and DeJounte Murray, who is a great defensive player who will get better offensively, I think. They got Patty Mills off the bench, Jakob Poeltl, they got DeMarre Carroll. Lucas Semantic was their draft pick, so was Keldon Johnson. And Quindary Weatherspoon, what a name, by the way. But, I mean, I think DeMar DeRozan will lead this team, and also LaMarcus Aldridge, but they're both getting up there in age. LaMarcus mostly is. But I think DeMar DeRozan will will this team to the playoffs. I mean, they'll give me a first round out, but I mean, still to the playoffs. Greg Popovich will not allow this Spurs team to not make the playoffs. I think this team on paper is just kind of too good to miss out on the playoffs, so I think the Spurs will finish 8th. So remember that really bold pick from the Dallas Mavericks from the West? I thought that'd be the boldest pick. This might be the boldest pick, actually. I forgot about this. I have the Golden State Warriors. Yes, these Golden State Warriors finishing 7th in the Western Conference. Now, you call me crazy. You can call me crazy. I don't know. Stephen Curry, obviously. We know who that is. Yeah, they got D'Angelo Russell. Klay Thompson is hurt until at least February, I believe. That's the story. And I feel like without him, I mean, D'Angelo Russell is not Klay Thompson. D'Angelo Russell's not as good as him. And he's going to be, I mean, D'Angelo Russell functions better with the ball in his hand. And I mean, the Curry-Russell thing, I'm sure it'll work out. I'm sure Steve Kerr will make it to work out. They still have Draymond Green, obviously. He's a very central piece to this team. They signed Willie Cauley-Stein, who is a solid center from the Kings. You know, he's still young as well. 6th overall selection a couple years back. My problem lies in the small forward. I don't think you can be starting Alfonso McKinney. Like, that's just not good. I just don't know if this team's going to mesh right away, or at least D'Angelo Russell is going to mesh right away. I could see problems at the beginning of the season. Don't get me wrong, this team, when Klay Thompson's back and this team is in the playoffs, this team is going to be scary. Like, this, as a 7th seed and playing the 2nd seed, that could be an upset team. Like, this could happen. And I can also see the Warriors finishing top 4. I am not saying they couldn't. I'm just saying, in my opinion, I think they're going to finish 7th. I'm sure this will get a lot of flack, but that's fine. That's my opinion. You're entitled to yours. So they're going to finish 7th in the Western Conference. Finishing 6th in the Western Conference, I have the Utah Jazz, and I am in love with this team. I want to put them higher, but it's just with this stacked Western Conference, I just can't. I really think this team could have a first-round upset if they're the 6th seed and move on. I mean, I have this team. This team could maybe even make the Western Conference Finals, in my opinion. You call me crazy. I think I might be a little crazy, but I just am in love with this team. Mike Conley, Donovan Mitchell, Jumpin' Joe Ingles, Bojan Bogdanovic, and Rudy Gobert. I think this team is so nice. Their bench is nice. Jeff Green, Ed Davis, Royce O'Neal, Emmanuel Mudiay, and basically Dante Exum. I don't know why Justin Wright Foreman is there. But I mean, I think this team is quite solid. I mean, last year, Donovan Mitchell coming into his 3rd season, 23.8 points per game, 4.1 assists, or 4.1 rebounds, 4.2 assists, shooting 36% from the field, from 3-point range, and 43% from the field. I mean, he's just going to be solid. And the addition of Mike Conley is just a great, veteran point guard. One of the stars, not a star, but like he was one of the better players in the league. And obviously Rudy Gobert, reigning defensive player of the year. Bojan Bogdanovic is a solid player as well from the Indiana Pacers, and Jumpin' Joe Ingles is also quite solid. This team has the potential. I mean, I'm telling you, if they get lucky, they could go Western Conference Finals. That's my hot take of the year. Utah Jazz Western Conference Finals. Do I think it's going to actually happen? No, but it's a hot take. So guys, Utah Jazz, I have them finishing 6th. I have the Denver Nuggets finishing 5th in the Western Conference. This was a team that finished as the 2nd seed last season, but this Western Conference has been beefed up since then. I mean, they keep the exact same core: Jamal Murray, Gary Harris, Will Barton, Paul Millsap, and Nikola Jokic, the star of the team. Off the bench, they traded for Jeremy Grant from the Thunder, which was a great addition to the team, and Monte Morris, who is a great backup point guard for the team. They drafted Bol Bol. They took the chance, as they should have. And honestly, maybe Michael Porter Jr. is injured now, but if he comes back healthy, this team in the future will be one of the best. Remember, this core is still quite young, so give this team some time, and this team will be one of the best in the league. But with this strong Eastern Conference or Western Conference this year, I think they take a little bit of a step back. They're still solid, don't get me wrong. It's just that the teams above them are a tad more established. But guys, the Denver Nuggets, in my opinion, will finish 5th in the Western Conference. The team I have finishing just above them was the team that beat them last year in the Western Conference semifinals in 7 games, will be the Portland Trailblazers. We know the usual suspects: Dollar Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum. They got Hassan Whiteside. They got Zach Collins and Rodney Hood as well. But Hassan Whiteside, and when Yusuf Nurkic comes back, that'll be a great. He'll probably take the starting spot from Hassan Whiteside, who last season, he's not bad, but he's not the same Hassan Whiteside as before. Last season, 12.3 points per game, 11.3 rebounds. Or I said, 12.3 points, 11.3 rebounds, I'm so sorry. But he only played 23 minutes per game last year. So, you give him up to 30. I'm sure these go up to maybe 15 and 13. That's my guess. He almost had 2 blocks per game as well. He can't shoot a free throw. I can shoot a better free throw than that. But yeah, he is going to help this Portland Trailblazers team a lot. And with the absence of Jusuf Nurkic, that's going to be, good for them. And then I think they'll swap after that, in my opinion. They also drafted Nazir Little with a 25th overall pick this year. They signed Mario Zonia, traded for Kent Bazemore. Anthony Simmons is still there. This team, this core is still there. CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard is going to have the seasons of their lives, in my opinion, after what they did in the playoffs last season. And I think the Portland Trailblazers will finish 4th in the Western Conference. Finishing 3rd, we have the Houston Rockets. Now we're up to the big 3, in my opinion. These are the 3 teams that everyone are gonna be picking to win the NBA title. We know what happened here. Russell Westbrook was traded to the Houston Rockets to pair alongside James Harden. They also have Clint Capella. They have Eric Gordon, PJ Tucker. This team is very, very solid. Now, the only problem is, the issue is, will Russell Westbrook and James Harden actually work out together? Like, they're both very ball-dominant point guards. I don't know if this team will work out. I think the team will work out in the regular season, but I can see them, again, if they match up with the Utah Jazz, I can see them losing to the Utah Jazz if they do match up with them in the playoffs. But I think, Mike D'Antoni will figure this out, make Russell Westbrook a different player. I think he's going to transform his game, or at least he's going to try to make him. And I think it'll probably end up working, but there is a chance that it will not end up working. On paper, this team is one of the best teams in the league, and they're going to finish 3rd in the Western Conference if this works out, and again, I'm sure it will. Well, if you're paying attention at home, you are not surprised at these last 2 teams, and you're probably going to know who the number 1 team is. But number 2 in the Western Conference, I have the LA Clippers. Obviously, Kawhi Leonard signed with the Clippers. Paul George was traded to the Clippers. They kept Ivica Zubac, whatever, I forget how you say it. They kept him. They kept Michael Green. They kept Patrick Beverley, one of the best defenders in the league. Sweet Lou Williams is there, still the reigning 6th man of the year, and they kept him. Montrezl Harrell's still here. Rodney McGruder, Landry Shamet, Maurice Harkless. They got even Jerome Robinson. Oh my God, the one guy from Florida State and 2 guys from Florida State. Terrence Mann. This team is loaded. This team is going to be a force. They could win the title. There's another team who I'm sure you guys know it is, but obviously we know what happens. Kawhi Leonard. He's the reigning Finals MVP. He will probably one of the best, if not the best, postseason runs in history. Last season with the Toronto Raptors, and this season he gets to play within LA. And I think he's going to love it. Paul George had himself an amazing year last year. He was in the MVP race. It was Giannis, James Harden, and Paul George. We looked, he had 28.6 points per game. I don't want to risk having that little ad there. So, obviously we know the player that Paul George is, and I think he's going to have just as good as a season this year. These two are going to be phenomenal together, and I think they're going to finish 2nd in the Western Conference. And that leaves 1 team, and that's going to be the other Los Angeles team, and that is the Los Angeles Lakers. LeBron James. They trade for Anthony Davis. They signed DeMarcus Cousins. They signed Danny Green. They keep Rajon Rondo. Get Quinn Cook. They get Avery Bradley. Keep Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. They keep Kyle Kuzma, who's on the bench now. They keep JaVale McGee. And that's basically after that. But Jared Dudley they signed. I'm kidding. But this team is phenomenal on paper. I think it's gonna work. And here's what I think's gonna happen. Here's my hot take. Again, I said it in a video earlier. I think they're gonna move LeBron James to point guard. LeBron James will be the point guard. I think they'll move Kyle Kuzma. Kyle Kuzma will be the small forward, and then Anthony Davis. So then you just put Rondo on the bench. That's what I think's gonna happen in my opinion, and that would be very, very scary. But this team is just, it's not the same DeMarcus Cousins, but last year he still had 16 and 8 in more limited minutes, and this year with more of the the starting role, he's one of the guys on this team. LeBron, Anthony Davis, he's the Chris Bosh of this team basically. This team is solid. This team, I think, is going to work out. I know the chemistry could be an issue because of a lot of newness. I know that was one of the gripes in my last video, but this team is different. This team is different. This team just feels like a title contender. I think DeMarcus Cousins is going to turn it on again this year. This team on paper looks amazing. I think the Los Angeles Lakers are going to win the Western Conference. And that's it, guys. That is my Western Conference season predictions. Let me know in the comments what you guys thought. I want to hear your opinions. I want to hear what you guys think, where you think everyone's going to finish. I want to see you guys commenting. I want to hear it all. I want to know all your opinions. I want to hear what you guys have to say. But that's all I have to say, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already to the YouTube channel. We are on the road to 500 subscribers, guys. Thank you. We've gained over 100 subscribers in the past couple weeks, and I couldn't thank you guys enough. But hope you enjoyed this video. I will see you in the next one. Have a good one. Later.